on the first local station with news in high definition. This is 9 News Now.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket and question the impossible. That's just some of the expert advice on how to avoid a Bernie Madoff-style financial mess. Gordon Bernhardt is here now with more. He's a certified financial planner and CPA with Bernhardt Wealth Management. We also have attorney Wayne Zell. He's president of Zell Law. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being here with us. In How to Avoid Another Bernard Madoff type of scam, I was reading Stephen Greenspan wrote The Annals of Gullibility, Why We Get Duped and How to Avoid It. And yet, Stephen Greenspan was one of those scammed by Bernard Madoff. So if he, educated and schooled in this, got caught, how do the rest of us avoid this, Gordon?
There are clearly a lot of very smart people who were got caught up in that scam. Clearly, one of the things we should never do, is to make our checks made payable to the investment advisor. If that's the case, they're serving as your custodian and advisor, and therefore that takes away the transparency. If you separate the advisory role from the custodial role, you can at least verify what the advisor is doing by looking at your custodian statement.
But there was no reason to suspect that someone of Bernard Madoff's caliber and wealth would be stealing from you.
He certainly had phenomenal credentials, a great community, people that certainly loved him. But still, it's easy. Even Ben Stein wrote that he had the opportunity to look into that, and he said it just didn't look right. It didn't sound right. And normally, if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Exactly. So consumers have to do a lot of the homework themselves before they just turn over their money to whoever it may be. Now we're looking at tax implications. And Wayne, are there any tax implications for the people who were scammed? And now we hear of others being scammed by this Texas financier.
All these Ponzi schemes raise the issue of whether or not you can claim a deduction for the investment that you made that really was lost completely. And the issue is whether you can claim it as a theft loss. So the IRS is looking into this. And there is an argument, a very strong argument, that you can claim a theft loss as long as you invested directly with the investment advisor, as opposed to going through a broker or in the open market.
How do people who invested with Bernard Madoff and others like that, and they've gone under, do they claim a loss of income on their taxes? Is that what that is?
Well, there's two things. One is the actual investment that you made was lost. It was used for ill-gotten gains. The second question is they reported that you received income, dividends, interest, capital gains over the last several years, when in fact you didn't receive anything. And the question is whether or not you can go back and amend your earlier tax returns for the income that you reported and paid taxes on.
Right. But
there was no income. And so the answer, I believe, is that a loss can be claimed for both of those, minus any distributions or cash that you receive. And the other question is, when can you claim this loss? Well, first of all, when you discovered it in 2008 is when you can claim it. And secondly, it's when there's no reasonable prospect that you can recover anything for this loss. Well, how do you determine whether or not you can recover from the Securities Investor Protection Corporation or from the bankruptcy estate? You don't know. And so the big issues that are going to be facing taxpayers and the IRS is how to claim these losses and when to claim the losses.
Can the Madoffs also claim some losses? They've had losses as well now, government seizing their property. Are there tax implications for them too?
That's a great question. I would suspect that the gains that they've generated from stealing from others generates income for them far in excess of the losses that they've suffered.
I mean, are you still, both of you, surprised at just how this was able to be carried off, and so many people lost so much, and now they've got all these problems facing them?
Very much so. You would expect with the, there were a lot of warning signs, and even in fact, the SEC received letters of warning from other advisors saying, hey, this looks suspicious. But they chose to ignore it. So
it's a travesty. I mean, you have nonprofit organizations, wealthy individuals and not so wealthy individuals who lost their life savings to this.
Absolutely. All right, so you can call Wayne and Gordon, talk about financial planning and about tax implications, because there are changes in the tax laws coming up for your filing date in 2010. 202-432-9045. Now you see their faces, you know who they are.